everyone, welcome to Study IQ English. If you remember, in 2025, the whole world, especially the global south countries, were complaining about climate injustice, green injustice. Why? Because United States, led by Mr. Trump, had clearly and categorically said that they will withdraw from United Nations and 66 other UN agencies. They also said that they do not believe in the COP30 summit that was held in Belém, Brazil, and they did not participate. At the same time, they also did not become a part of the G20 summit that was last year for the first time held in Africa, that's in Johannesburg. As the whole world was celebrating joint commitments like Mutirao and Ubuntu, it was US followed by Israel, which said that we are not going to participate here. Now, this is not new. Earlier also, under United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, you talk about UNFCCC. We have seen how major developed countries have not been able to fulfill their promises under legally binding agreements like the Paris Agreement 2015, or you talk about the Kyoto Protocol 1997. But when you talk about India, then today India has proven that not just as the leader of Global South, not just as the net security provider in the Indian Ocean, but also as a swing country that believes in multi-alignment, India has been successfully fulfilling all its obligations, whether it's the nationally determined contribution under Paris Agreement of reducing carbon emission by 45% of its GDP, or whether it is about India going to become carbon neutral by 2070. Today, India has reached another milestone, and this is in the form of Nagoya Protocol. So India has now submitted its first national report on how will it implement the provisions under Nagoya Protocol. What does it show? It shows India's progress in sharing all the benefits it achieves from biological resources in a very fair and transparent manner across all the countries of the world. And for that, India has also issued about 12,830 ABS approvals and published more than 3,000 internationally recognized certificates of compliance. That means India is not only fulfilling its obligations under this protocol, India believes in sharing all the benefits of biodiversity with other countries as well. So this makes us question for the UPSC exam GS paper 3, what do we even mean by Nagoya Protocol? What does it mean? So Nagoya Protocol on access to genetic resources and fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from their utilization, that you abbreviate as ABS, to the Convention on Biological Diversity, is a supplementary agreement to the Convention on Biological Diversity. So whenever you talk about CBD, the Convention on Biological Diversity, Nagoya Protocol becomes a very important supplementary convention under that. When was it adopted? It was adopted on 29th October 2010 in Nagoya in Japan, and that's why we have this name Nagoya Protocol. Now, if you remember, when we talk about the Kyoto Protocol. Why do we call it Kyoto Protocol from 1997? That's because it was adopted again in Japan, which also became the first legally binding climate treaty, but only on the developed countries of the world, quite like Paris Agreement of 2015, which was to be applied universally to all the countries, irrespective of whether they are developed or whether they are the global south countries. It's a different thing though, that most countries have not been fulfilling their obligations under either of these two treaties. Now, coming back to Nagoya Convention, it was signed in Japan and it was implemented, that is, it came into force in 2014. And now if you look at what does it provide? So it provides a very transparent, fair, legal framework for effective implementation of equitable sharing of benefits that come from utilization of genetic resources. And let's remember that India ratified this in 2012. Now, these questions are very important. Say, for example, if somebody asks you that Ramsar Convention that goes back to 1971, when did India ratify that? This is one question I have asked you previously also. But today the question is, if somebody asks you about the Nagoya Protocol, that if it was something that was signed up much earlier, when did India ratified that? So India ratified in 2012. Now this is very, very important, and you can always cross-link current affairs to remember them. An approach that we very prodigally use at StudyIQ. Say for example, if 2012 is Nagoya and India's ratification, then what about POCSO Act? Now, away from the topic, but something you can relate in terms of the year of effectiveness, okay? Now, coming back to the broader treaty, when we are saying that Nagoya Protocol and all the provisions under that are a broader part of Convention on Biodiversity Preservation, then let's understand, what do you even mean by Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD? What is this? So, CBD is a body, CBD is an agreement with currently 196 contracting parties. It is the most comprehensive binding. Now, please remember binding. This is very important to remember, that this is a binding. It is compulsory international agreement in the field of nature conservation and sustainable use of natural resources. It was opened up for signing at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development in Rio de Janeiro, that's in South America, in 1992. Now, this Rio de Janeiro summit of 92 is very, very important to remember. So you must remember, and many times I have showed you the map of Brazil as well, the largest country in South America. Do you even know that which are the two countries in South America, Latin America, with which Brazil does not share its border? Because otherwise it shares its border with all the countries of South America, but then there are two with which there is no border sharing with Brazil. So which one is that? And this area in Caribbean is very popular right now, because today morning we have discussed about Cuba, the power blackout, the isolation that Cuba is experiencing because of US. So from there you can remember the Rio de Janeiro 1992 summit, okay? And Convention on Biodiversity. So always remember, I'll mark this, Convention on Biological Diversity, very, very important, from 1992. And now, if you look at what has India then done, so India implements all the provisions under these treaties through its own act that's called Biological Diversity Act 2002. It has a three-layered structure. That's an institutional structure, which is about National Biodiversity Authority, State Biodiversity Board, including Union Territory Board and councils, and ultimately Biodiversity Management Committee at the local level. So there is a very democratic institutional implementation of the Convention on Biodiversity. So therefore, what you need to remember for the UPSC exam is broadly this convention, CBD. You must remember Nagoya Protocol, and therefore the relevance of India submitting its report in sharing in the most transparent manner all the benefits that we get from biodiversity and various genetic resources. So that's what's making news right now. A quick practice question for you. With reference to Nagoya Protocol, consider the following statements. 1. It is a supplementary agreement to the Convention on Biodiversity, Biological Diversity. 2. It deals only with conservation of endangered species. 3. It ensures fair and equitable sharing of benefits coming from genetic resources. Which of these statements here are valid? You can let your answer shared with us on the comment box, or otherwise if you have any such important input that you'd like to share, you're free to do that. And do remember, on our Telegram channel, we keep sharing such information very frequently. You can take this QR code and become a part of the Telegram channel. And do remember, at StudyIQ, we are hosting batches for 27 and 28 at a very subsidized, at a very easy price. Very, very easy, humble price, starting from 13,999 for 2027, but both the batches 27 and 28 are beginning from 26th March 26. So whether you are writing the exam in English, Hindi or bilingual, whether you are planning for 28 or just next year, now is the time to enroll at the best possible price. And if you use my code SPLIVE, then maximum discount, even more is possible. So it's a limited time offer. Enroll quickly, because not just books, materials, mentorship, guidance and revision, we take care of 360-degree UPSC preparation. With more than 200 selections in Civil Services Exam 2026, we hope to do the same in the upcoming cycle of UPSC CSC. So all the very best and enroll today. Thank you.